Okay, on this episode of CPR Ford Garage, Bruce is getting a slight fuel system upgrade. So whenever you do a new build, there's always like some teething issues. Things that were good in theory, but in practice did not work out. And the fuel system that I originally did is one of them. So Phytech fuel injection needs 58 pounds of fuel pressure at the throttle body. Same as late model LS motors. So somebody told me about the LS fuel line setup from Tanks Incorporated, and what it is Russell -6 twist-lok hose, AN fittings, and a GM, I think it's off a late model Corvette filter regulator. This is the hose here, Russell twist-lok hose. If you learn the tricks, it's not too bad to assemble. It's pretty good stuff. It's easy to route. It's pretty abrasion resistant for just having a rubber or whatever soft kind of outer casing it has on it. It's good stuff. AN fittings. So the deal is that GM filter regulator has a short return line. That's the bonus. You need less fittings, you need less return hose, so you save a little bit of money. I thought at the time it was still going to be a good setup, so I wasn't really going the cheap way, but a little lesser cost. The problem is I've never been able to get enough fuel into this thing at wide open throttle from a dead stop. It would go lean and even pop out of the throttle body or just cut out. I got enough fuel added into the tune where it would no longer do that. It would still go momentarily lean, and then what happens is fuel correction takes over. The O2 sensor sees that it's going lean and the computer dumps a bunch of fuel in, and then you have a really bad rich bog. I'm talking like AFRs in the 10s. So I ended up trying to tune that out, and I had added to the Excel enrichment stuff way more than I basically had it cranked up to 11, and the whole time thinking, hey, this can't be good, something's got to be going on, this can't be right. So what I finally did, put off doing for a long time because I probably knew what would happen when I did, hooked up a fuel gauge to the throttle body, duct taped it to the windshield. I'll add a little video clip of that real quick. It's kind of took it out for a test drive, romped it from a dead stop. It drops like 25 pounds of fuel pressure right when you crack the throttle open and romp it. So a couple of things. The LS filter regulator, I'm sure GM compensates for that fuel pressure drop in the tune. Maybe it's mounted closer to the engine on the Corvette. I have no idea. It's kind of a mitigating factor, I think, on this is where it's at on the truck. It's only about 4 feet away from the fuel tank. This is a long bed pickup, so obviously it's a lot farther away from the engine than it would be on the Corvette. Anyway, I did some research and really figured out the minimum amount of parts I would need to convert this to a full return system using the stuff I already had, not wasting any more money than I already have. Thanks, honey. Love you. Okay, so this is what I have here to rectify the situation. This is a Holley billet HP fuel filter, part number right there. It's 10 micron. Got it from the local speed shop. It's about 77 bucks. Has a replaceable 10 micron filter. You just unscrew one of these end caps and you can pull out and replace the filter element as needed. This is just a 3/8 NPT to -6 adapter to connect to my existing fuel line. This is a little bit shorter than the LS filter regulator that I have in there right now, but I should be able to pull and wiggle the fuel lines a little bit and make them. It's about 2 inches shorter. This is the whatever size it is. I think it's metric on this end. To -6 fitting that came with the Phytech to go in the return port. Already had that. And then I have a -6 45 Russell twist-lok fitting. got a little clamp here that I'm going to modify to hold onto the fuel filter. I didn't want to spend like 40 bucks on a billet filter clamp that nobody's ever going to see. That's stupid. Stupid street rod stuff, car show stuff. And I measured, I need about 13 feet, but I got 15 feet of Russell twist-lok hose, which is what already is on the truck. And then I got a male twist-lok 2-6 fitting. The reason it's male, normally hose ends would be female, just like this guy right here. But what I need to do is I have a straight female on the hose that's on the truck right now that goes from the LS filter regulator back to the tank. So now that I'm taking that filter out, this return hose that I'm making is going to screw right into that straight coupler. As you can see, a female will just thread right on there. Maybe, there we go. So that straight one that's already on the truck will thread right on there. I already went ahead and assembled this when I originally did the truck, doing the twist-lok hose fittings. Boy, there was a lot of swear words said, and I really struggled with it. I tried a different way at home, that's why this one's already done. The 45 I'm not going to be able to do at home, and I still have to cut this hose to length. The 45 I can't do at home because what I did was I actually heated a pot of boiling water and held this hose in there for a few minutes wearing gloves. I put this on my kitchen counter, a little bit of dish soap on the barbs, and shoved the hose down on it. It was not easy still, but a lot easier than last time. So the key is heating the inside of the hose. What I had done last time was kind of heated the outside with my heat gun. So I need to be able to put this in the vise over there. And I am not at my house, I'm at the shop. I don't have any way to heat up water here. So what I'm going to try to do is protect that, put it in the vise, facing up this time. And I'm going to try to stand up on my workbench and so I can really put my weight on it and push down on it. And instead of using my heat gun along the outside like this, I mean, rubber obviously is a good insulator, so I don't think the inside of the hose was getting that warm last time. I'm going to turn it and blow the warm air in the end, in the hose end, like so. And then put gloves on and probably a little dish soap or something and try to put it on there. I already put the fittings in here, just put a little bit of like PTFE paste on them. This is some Permatex thread sealant, same diff, it's fuel safe, it's white pasty stuff, looks just like PTFE paste, just so that they don't weep right there. Yeah, so let's take a look at the old stuff and get started tearing it out. Time for a gas bath. So I've got Bruce safely up on jack stands right now so we can get under the back and work. Oil spots there, not from Bruce. My wife's pickup, Ruby, has been parked here. You probably saw it in the other videos, and it has an original 102,000 mile or so 360. Yeah, it leaks oil pretty bad. I forgot to put the cardboard down the last time I parked it in here for a while. Since you're going to see it in the background anyway, I'll give you a quick little sneak peek of future winter project. If you know your Fords, you know what that is. Yes, that's a bump side coming this winter, but first a whole lot of cleaning needs to happen in here. I'm going to store the wife's pickup elsewhere, and Bruce will get all cleaned up kind of end of the season, and plastic drop sheet thrown over him to keep sparks and all that kind of stuff off of him. But a bunch of stuff needs cleaned out in here first before I can get into that next winter project. Okay, so there you go. That is pressure line to the engine. That is an adapter that snaps into the fuel filter and then turns to a male AN. LS filter regulator, and then return hose and pressure hose. They go, I don't know if you can see, not too far though. They're just going from really right in front of the axle back to the fuel tank. And that was the bonus. That was what they sold you on. Hey, you only need a really short return line. You'll save a bunch of money on expensive AN fittings and AN hose, but not working in my application. So what I need to do is get this apart and then figure out which is the send and which is the return. I can't remember. Looking at it, it looks like this one on the side is going to be the pressure because the one in the middle looks smaller. So it's smaller diameter. I'll take a look when I get it apart. I'm going to get a pan under here. The other way, if I wasn't sure, what I could always do is undo them and put them both in a bucket and turn the key on and see which one pees out fuel. I did pull the fuel pump relay and then crank it over to bleed the pressure out of the system, but a lot of OEM cars, there's a little pressure in the gas tank, they would still pee fuel out for a long time. Not too bad. Not too bad. Okay. Yeah, it definitely looks like the center connector is the smaller one. Hopefully there's, if you're ever doing your fuel filter and you have a ton of pressure on the back fittings, the pre-filter part, when you undo them, you have a good chance you got a plugged fuel filter. I don't actually need to take the quick connect adapter fittings off because I won't be using them now. Please don't spray me in the eye. Don't bring me down, Bruce. But maybe people make the mistake of calling them quick disconnect fittings. They're not. They're quick connect. Not always quick disconnect. Sometimes there's a lot of swearing and gnashing of teeth before they disconnect. Alright. So I'm pretty sure actually the center one is, well, I'll have to see. The line that was hooked to the center would not stop peeing out fuel, so it got a little clamp put on it and shoved up there above the shock to make it quit. Oh. Another good way to check your fuel filter, just when you're changing it, if you want to see how dirty it is. Oh, hey, how about that? Look, there's actually a label on there that tells you which is in and which is out, so stand down on that. Anyway, so if you want to check, okay, yes, sorry, squirrel. The one on the outside is the inlet to the fuel filter, which means that's pressure coming from the fuel pump. I marked that one with a Sharpie as I took it off so that I know which one it is. That's the one going to go in the fuel filter. Return is the center. These, if you want to know, they have these little tabs on them, if you can see that. So to take them off, you shouldn't really need any tools. You just squeeze them and then wiggle and twist the fitting until it comes off. I'm not going to take that one off now because I don't need to. But anyway, if you want to, say this is a regular fuel filter, we want to know how plugged it is, hold fingers, wearing gloves like this, shake it really good while there's still fuel in it, and then from the pre-filter side, the fuel pump side, kind of dump it in your gloved hand or dump it through a paper towel, and you can look at it and see how dirty it was. Okay, so this guy, it's worth. Oh. Hey, there's an arrow on there that tells you which way it flows. Oh man, it's gonna have to be upside down. Not cool. It's gonna cost a few horsepower. Okay, so yep, we got about a 2-inch deficit. So the clamp's holding the the fuel line are gonna have to be undone. So I'll get my clamp ready. Okay, so what I did was I fed that new return line up along, following the pressure line the whole way up to the throttle body. Put my adapter in there, that dash 645. I put a little anti-seize on the threads because that's a steel fitting and that's aluminum. So you can see the 45 is just kind of pointing down that way. I just fed the hose all the way through and laid it to about here, put a mark on it, and that's where I cut it. The 15 feet was actually long enough to go about here. I only needed about 13 feet, if that. So now I've cut it, and it is all ready to go in the vise. Also, this is the other end of what I cut. I stuffed a bolt down it before I fed it all up along the transmission and all that stuff, so that it doesn't get a bunch of crud down in the hose. Make sure that you blow them out anyway, and it wouldn't even hurt to run a little fuel through them before you hook them up, just to make sure they're totally rinsed out. So we are going to give this twist-lok / push-lok fitting a try. Okay, so here's my setup. It's going to be tough. I'm going to try to get video of it, but I don't have a stand or anything, so I've got to improvise something. But these are my protective vice jaw protectors here. Russell actually gives you these they come with the kit. They're attached right here at the top of the box, so you just tear them off, tear it in half, and put it on either side of the vise. The tough thing is it has to be tight, because I'm basically going to be pushing down on this thing with all of my weight, and I want it to not slip down in the vise. So it's tight. Heat gun, dish soap. Going to really heat up the end of the hose really good. Like I said, shooting the heat right in there. Then a little dish soap on the barbs, and I'm going to actually stand on the bench and grab it with, I'll have 2 gloves on that one hand, so that hopefully I don't get burned like I did yesterday doing it. Here we go. Burn anything here. I'm actually just going to try to lean over it and do it. Look at that. Nice. Didn't even have to stand on the bench. That is the ticket. So, what I figured out from last time, twisting doesn't really help for some reason. And grabbing on right where the barbs are as you try to push it down doesn't help. You want to grab just barely above where the barbs are, so that there's not enough room for it to kink, and shove there. That way the hose can kind of bulge out as it goes over the barbs. So there you go. Twist-lok the easy way. There you be. One finished return hose. I put a baggie with a little tape over the male end that's going down. I'm gonna feed it through from the top this time, and that's just to keep any crap from getting in there. I already blew this out real good with the air hose, and then once I get it hooked up, I'll just run the fuel pump real quick for a second into a bucket and let it all run through there in case anything didn't get blown out with the air. Okay, I've got the new return line all routed and filter installed. Okay, so you can see the lines go back there to the top of the tank. The return line ended up being a little bit too long. That's why I got that little loop right there. Could be a little better, but not gonna redo it and cut that hose off of the barb just for that. So that union ended up being back there with that hose being long. Right here, this part of the shock doesn't actually move. That's the metal shield instead of having a boot. So I'm not worried about that rubbing. I got these little 5/8 insulator clips to route it. new fuel filter in the clamp there. A little upset about this being upside down. This must be a right-handed fuel filter, and I needed a left-handed fuel filter. So the zip ties that you'll see, they're not actually holding any weight. This one here, there's nowhere to put a clamp around there because all the holes are full of rivets or too far away. So it's actually just, oh, actually there's a hole right there. So maybe I'll redo that. Anyway, it's just keeping it from flopping out towards the exhaust or something like that. Little insulated clamps there. Goes all along there. You can obviously tell which one the new line is. They got a date stamp on them, so that is about when I did the other one a couple years ago. Goes along there. Going up here. Gonna have to cross the exhaust at some point. There's no way around it really, so I went over right there. That's where Ford does it about on the newer Fords, the fuel injected ones, and they actually have flex lines going over right there. So got some nifty heat shielding on there. And then my full race bracket up there that I made, you could tell because I actually slash cut the bottom of it to be parallel to the ground, and it's made out of aluminum. I just zipped out that top tail housing mount bolt to hold that, and has clamps going over the top. Let's see if we can get a better look here. I'll get a better look here. So if I can, just goes up above that. That keeps it kind of away from the body off of the tranny. And I don't know if I'll be able to get a look, but it basically follows the tunnel up, and my wideband O2 sensor wire there is zip tied to it to keep it from flopping around too much. So I'm not real worried about the oh, come on, about this. I've got almost not quite a fist. Got about 3 of my fingers between the exhaust and that, and it's got a heat shield on it. The fuel hoses there are almost touching the floor. That's as high as I can get them. If it becomes an issue to where those zip ties melt or anything like that, I'll just make a little heat shield that would attach to the top of that pipe with some clamps and spot weld it to the clamps and have a little air gap between the pipe and it. These I've got Headman headers, and this is the way it is. No way around it really. They dip down to go under the cross member. I mean, you could maybe have different headers that would fit over the top, but they'd be real tight to the floor, so I don't like how that hangs down. You can see it from the side of the truck outside, but it is what it is. Anyway, so there's the new fuel hoses. I know you're probably thinking this is just like running rubber soft hose the whole way, but this is not the same stuff as like your regular carbureted low pressure fuel hose. That outer skin is not what actually seals it. It's just kind of an abrasion resistant skin. It's been on here for 2 years, and places like that against the side of that cross member, it's been touching, and there's not even any marks on it at all. These are all my settings that I want to save, things that I've changed. This is the AFR targets that this engine seems to like. And these are all my startup settings. It seems to start pretty good with these in all temperatures. And I adjusted loop rate up, loop rate down to make it react a little faster to changes going in and out of gear. Don't think I've touched anything there. These are my fan on off. I have a 195-degree thermostat, the stock temp. And these are my settings to make the fuel pump run 100% all the time. The Walbro fuel pump wasn't designed to run pulse width modulation. These are my basic engine settings. And then this is how you go in and overwrite with the default V8 tune. It is uploading a stock tune right now to the computer, and it has succeeded. I'll just show my little mount I made here real quick. This is a Magnaball cell phone mount, I believe it's called. Can probably can't read what that says. Night eyes. It's upside down. I think it's called Magnaball. So anyway, I ran my wires inside, and I like this because it just magnets on there. So if I park somewhere and I don't want to worry about somebody stealing it, I just unhook the wires and pop it off and throw it in the glove box. Or if you leave these on, if you leave this hooked up while it's sitting for a little while, it'll actually drain your battery. So I unplug it and throw it on the seat when the truck is stored. So now I just got to go through and plug in my settings that I had that were good and start it up. Okay, my new settings are uploaded. So this would be just like doing a cold start on the Phytech the first time, because all of the learns are reset. So key it on, wait for the injectors to click. Start correcting the fuel until the O2 sensor is warmed up. So that is that for now. Obviously there's road testing that needs to be done, but it's rainy and wet outside, so I'm not going to be able to go wide open throttle anyway because it'll just blaze the tires on the wet road. So that is it for now. Thanks.